Because
right? You can run it.
tangible is right there.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Either the piece of wood is in the right place or it's not, and you do
Yeah.
that 1,000 times, and okay. But what's interesting in the translation space is that that is still very opaque, let's just say. Um, and clients struggle with, how do I trust AI generated translations? How do I know reliably? And again, this is in our space of particular importance because of, I'm putting a regulatory submission together for a clinical trial or a clinical trial report or whatever. There's a mistake in there. I gotta go all the way back to the beginning of this process, and I'm gonna spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to redo this work. So the trust factor is both critically important and hasn't been solved. There are
It's just
just
different,
there's
though, Andres, from any other technology adoption that we went through our lifetime. You and I are pretty much the same age. I remember days when, when somebody would walk in and say, I'm going to give you this little plastic card. You're going to put it into a box and it's going to give you money. And people
yeah,
would freak out over that.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
took us a while, but society, communities, and humanity came around. And now we can't live without the plastic card.
yeah.
Actually,
That's
we've
right.
tried to get rid
That's
of everything monetary nowadays that it's
that's
hard
right.
currency, right?
And you're absolutely correct. I mean, we're still we're in the early stages of this, right? So this will be solved. There's no question about it. Um, until we get there, though, there are a lot of our clients who are explicitly saying, do not use AI on our translation work. We cannot take the risk. So one of the areas where we've been spending a lot of time and focus on is, how do we bridge that gap? How do we bridge that reliability, known reliability gap? And it's not easy. It's not straightforward.
No,
As,
because
as, as
because translation, as we mentioned earlier, comparison to industrial application, uh, translation is very gray area. The quality or the consumer, whoever the consumer is, billions of consumers of translation content, can each one of those decide what's acceptable, what is not acceptable.
Absolutely, that's
You know, when,
exactly right.
when you're
Yeah,
designing when you're designing a chair or a desk, there's dimensions, there's weight, there's fit, there's color. In translation, none of that apply.
well, different things apply. So we're working with one company, fascinating. They're developing AI-based training modules for salespeople. So so fascinating thing applies. How do you define quality? So let's say you're selling pharmaceuticals to doctors, right? You're one of those sales reps that goes from hospital to hospital. Okay, how do you define the quality of that interaction? Okay, it's got to be correct use of language. Let's say if I'm in Japan, I got to use the right language. I got to use the right tone. As a sales rep, am I female or am I male? What voice applies. How do I approach a doctor in Japan? How is that different from how I would address a doctor in England? So quality takes on a very nuanced form and factor here, where it goes really beyond. It's language at the core, clearly, but it goes beyond that, and that's fascinating. So it's bringing the whole cultural and localization aspect to it as well.